Welcome to the Belly of the Beast, your home for original horror content. Warning, some of our stories may be upsetting for some individuals. Listen at your own risk.
Today's story is called Little Door. It was written by the Beastmaster and will be narrated by me, Beastling. This story for me started when I was unexpectedly pulled out of class. All I was told was that there was a family emergency and my mom was coming to get me. My mom? I asked the school secretary. She just nodded to confirm. I found this strange because my mom always worked while I was at school and my grandpa always picked me up. My mom showed up with tears in her eyes. "Are you okay, Mom?" She gave me a half smile. "We'll talk in the car, okay, buddy?" I just grabbed my mom's hand. "Okay, whatever you need." I didn't know what she was going to tell me, but I was sure it wasn't good. On the drive home, my mom told me that a lot of cops were at the house because Grandpa died. But Grandpa was so healthy and strong, I stated in disbelief. After I said this, she started to cry. She cried so much that she had to pull over the car. "Let's have lunch together," she stated after pulling herself together. At lunch, I got the whole story, or at least as much as she knew. My mom found my grandpa in his bed this morning, in a pool of his own blood. She said he looked like something or someone had scratched him to death, and the police are investigating because the initial reports said that they look like fingernail marks from a person. Who could do that to Grandpa? He's so big and strong. I sat with thoughts spinning in my head. My mom didn't say anything. She just hugged me, and we both cried together for a while. Because of the investigation, we couldn't go home for a few weeks. But eventually we did get to go home. 6 months went by, and the police investigation turned up no answers. My grandpa's old room was the master bedroom of the house, but my mom didn't want it after what she saw in there. I, however, felt closer to him when I was in his room. It took some convincing, but she agreed to let me move into his old room. The first thing I did was move all the furniture around, as I never thought my grandfather had it set up very well. However, when I moved his large armoire, I saw a small door behind it that I never knew was there. Right away, I wanted to know what was behind it, but unfortunately it was locked. I searched for the key while I was packing up Grandpa's stuff, but never found it. After a long day of moving, packing, and unpacking, my new room was finally set up. I laid down in my bed. I was so tired. That's when I thought I heard a knock from behind that small door. I stared at it for a while, but nothing happened. So I just hopped out of bed and went downstairs for dinner. That night when I was laying down for bed, I could hear something moving behind that small door. I sat up in bed and stared at the door. At this point, I started to hear scratching from behind the door. And that's a note for me. I ran to Mom's room. I told her everything, and she came back to the room with me, but she hesitated before entering. When we were both in the room, we didn't hear anything. "We might have a mouse problem. I'll set traps in the house in the morning," she said while pointing at my bed. "Now get some sleep." Every night for the next week, I would hear things moving behind that door, and I would hear this slow scratching sound. Yet every day, my mom and I would check the traps and find nothing. Tonight, I was sitting in my bed doing homework when the scratching sound started again. "Stupid mice, we're gonna get you," I shouted when something hit the inside of the door, really loud and hard. It startled me, and I jumped to my feet. Then the banging continued, one after another, louder and faster. I could see the door shaking. Then the little knob on the door started to turn, so I noped the hell out of there and ran to my mom. I told my mom everything. As I was telling her, I could see her eyebrows raised and her head tilt. She didn't believe me. Go to the room and see for yourself," I shouted at her, angry. She didn't believe me. But of course when we went to the room, There was no banging, no scratching, no doorknob turning. This is not funny. You know I don't like coming in here. Don't bother me with this again. She yelled as she charged out of my room and slammed my bedroom door behind her. I sat on my bedroom floor, crying and scared. Knowing I couldn't go to my mom with this just made it all worse. That's when I heard a voice from behind the door. Don't cry, my dear. I didn't mean to scare you. I just want you to let me out of here. The voice sounded kind and also familiar. How? I don't have a key. Oh, my dear, it's on top of the armoire. I know that I know this voice. Grandma, is that you? Grandma, I missed you. Where have you been? In here, my dear. Please let me out. I ran down the stairs and grabbed the ladder to check the top of the armoire, and sure enough, there was the key. I'm going to get you out of there, Grandma. I got the key. I unlocked the door as fast as I could and opened the door. The moment that I opened the door, however, a frail, old skeleton fell onto my lap, and I screamed a scream of pure terror. Mom came bursting in the door and saw the corpse leaning out of the little door and onto my lap. She grabbed me and pulled me from the room. We contacted the police, and after a short investigation, we found that the corpse was my grandma, and she died from blunt trauma to the head. 5 years ago, Grandpa told everyone she ran out on all of us. Now, however, we all believe he killed her and hid her body behind that little door that only he knew was there. The one thing my family always talks about is how Grandpa died. Because of my story with the scratching, most of us believe it was my grandma's ghost getting revenge. I don't believe that, though, because I notice my mom still does not like to go in the room, but anytime she does, she hesitates and looks down at her nails.
I hope you enjoyed today's story. Please like and subscribe as it will help us to continue to provide you with great content. Until next time, stay safe and avoid becoming one of the stories from the belly of the beast.